Hey friends, we're back in the kitchen again. Welcome back. My name's Vicki-Lynne. So glad you could join me. I have another great recipe for you. I think all my recipes are pretty good, pretty great. I don't know. I think they're very tasty. This one's another oil-free, but we're making some plant-based meatballs and they are great. We're using some of our friends in the kitchen. My favorite friend, quinoa, some lentils, and some sunflower seeds to whip up these great meatballs. And so we're going to get started. And if you're new here, hey, welcome. How are you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you're notified every time one of my videos goes up. I do a lot of meal prep. I do starch solution. All my recipes are oil-free and they're fun. I hope you have fun while you're watching me anyway, because I'm usually, a little klutzy, so hopefully you have a little fun with that. Anyway, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our quinoa going. And don't worry, guys, I'll have the recipe down below. But for the most part, I've actually weighed this out this time. But it's about 1/4 cup, 40 grams, and I'm going to add equal parts of water. And we're going to cook that on the stove. I've cooked some lentils. I'll give you the measurements again down below. It's pretty simple, but I actually cooked extra lentils because I love to have frozen lentils just in some silicone bags in the fridge, in the freezer, laid flat because they're a powerhouse full of, protein, and they're great for making bolognese sauces or adding to a salad, or just they come in handy in a pinch. And if you lay them flat, when you freeze them, they defrost super, super quick. So I always like to make a large pack, like a large cook of lentils, just so I have them in my freezer. I have my scale here just because when you're cooking, actually measuring by weight is actually more accurate than measuring by cups. So I'm just playing around with both, but I am measuring both ways, just so you can have it both ways. I will have the measurements both ways. But we're going to get our quinoa going, and quinoa is so simple. Now, as I've said before, my quinoa is from Costco, and that quinoa does not need to be rinsed. If you're using a different quinoa, then please rinse your quinoa. That does help get rid of that bitter taste to it. And I'm using white quinoa. You can use tricolor quinoa. You can use dark quinoa. They're going to be meatballs, so it doesn't really matter. So we're going to put this on the stove, and you're going to bring it up to a boil, lower the temperature, let it simmer for about 15 minutes. 12 minutes is what I usually do. Then I kind of turn off the heat, and just let it kind of sit there for the last 3 minutes. Then you fluff it up, and then we're going to let it cool down a little bit so that we can handle it. Okay, let's put it on the stove and let's get going. We'll get that going. I've already cooked, as I said, a bunch of lentils, and so those are all cooked up. The other thing you want to be doing while your quinoa is cooking is you want to take your sunflower seeds. These are regular raw sunflower seeds, no salt, no roasting, no nothing. And you just want to soak them. You want them to be soaked because we're going to blend them, and you want them to blend very well. And again, this recipe comes together very quickly. So our quinoa is cooked. So we're just going to put everything into a bowl. I've let it cool because we're going to kind of be making a dough out of this, or balls, meatballs. All right. And I've weighed out. So I've done my lentils, and basically this works out to about 155 grams, 1.5 cups, or like 1 can of lentils. So if you can find the cans of lentils, that's probably what you'll need. And some fresh basil. Then I've diced up some onion, my little food chopper here, so I don't cry too much. I think I'm just going to start with that. I think that looks like enough. I'm going to cover that up, move that aside. And now we're going to do our sunflower seeds. So I've drained them. And I'm just going to put them in my little blender. I'm going to try them in my little one. just want to blend them enough, kind of make them into a paste. Well, that should be good enough. We want to make sure that they're just broken up enough that, you see? Because it's not a large amount, it's harder to use the Vitamix. And then we're going to add in our spices. So I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of garlic. Two teaspoons of Italian seasoning. And then I'm going to mix it and see if it needs a little bit of salt. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. You could use fresh black pepper, whatever you want. I'm probably going to add a little bit of salt. And then what you're going to do is you're going to mix it. Everything's cooked really well. You're going to make a dough out of it. You just want to mix everything really well, coming together nicely. Now, you want your oven to be preheated to 350 degrees. Just keep mixing it with your hands because you want to break down the lentils and everything. And then you're going to end up with a nice dough. So now that you have your dough, we're going to get a sheet with parchment paper on it or a silicone mat, something that will just make it easier to put your meatballs on. And then you're just going to want to form balls. And again, you can do whatever size you want. Large, small, your cooking time will just need to be adjusted. See how many we get out of this. Just try to keep them all the same size so that they'll cook through. All right, we're going to put those in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes. You're going to want to flip them over about 10 minutes through and just keep an eye on them. Again, just depends on how big you make them, but they should cook for about 20 minutes. And again, flip them 10 minutes through. I'll show you what they look like when we take them out. So our meatballs are out of the oven. I let them cook for about 20 minutes because mine were a little bit larger. If you made them, about 1 tablespoon, I would only cook them for about 10 minutes. They look wonderful, smells delicious in here. And give this one a try. Throw them in some marinara sauce, make meatball sandwiches, add them with your favorite zoodles or pasta. This is a winning dish for sure. Plant-based, oil-free, and delicious. Hope you guys love this recipe as much as I do, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.